What's the point of playing a story mode if you've already watched the anime? I know it's gonna happen, so why do I care? While this mostly sounds like hate, it's actually a very good question. Why do we care? While reviewing both Fairy Tail and Sword Art Online, I found myself asking this question a lot as I watched these cutscenes. I just kept wondering, who is this for? The stories are usually told in a way that cuts too many corners for a new viewer to understand them, and besides, very few players choose the video game as their first time to watch the show's story. But on the other hand, if you already know the story, why are you reliving it through low-budget cutscenes? Who is this serving? When you give me good-looking cutscenes, I get it. We're seeing a new art style, sometimes we're seeing a new perspective, or we're seeing iconic moments that have been so significant to us, and they look amazing. But this is just boring. At the same time, I've played many anime games in the past where I didn't get this feeling at all, so what did those games do right? I don't have an answer yet, but we'll find out together. And to help me find the answer, we have today's sponsor, Kaioken Clothing. Kaioken Clothing is the online store where you can get t-shirts, hoodies, or masks inspired by your favorite anime shows, including your favorite YouTube channel. This is also on Kaioken Clothing. It includes a wide collection of Dragon Ball, Naruto, My Hero Academia, and more. I'm a fan of their new Weeb collection. These hoodies and t-shirts are a lot thicker, which is going to be perfect for winter. And in fact, all the designs that you see in the store are made by Kaioken Clothing and are exclusive to the store itself. So you don't have to worry about wearing something that everyone else is going to have. You get to pick something cool and also unique. When you're ready to buy something, use promo code Globku at checkout. You'll get 10% off with free shipping on top of that. Thank you Kaioken Clothing for sponsoring this video, and also if you like these types of videos and would like to chat about anime games, come by my Twitch channel. No matter what I'm playing, I'm always happy to talk about your anime game of choice, so drop by the stream, link down below. Today we're gonna do a deep dive into anime game stories because they are very unique in a way. With most games, when you're playing the story, you're learning it for the first time as you play the video game. The narrative has a much bigger impact that way because you don't know what twists are coming your way. But with anime games, you already know what's gonna happen. So what's keeping you engaged? What's a good anime story mode? I asked this question on Twitter, and if anything, the answers showed me that we all are very passionate about different games. But that passion sometimes comes from gameplay and not exactly the way the game is letting you relive the story, you know? Not exactly what it's doing story-wise. Let's say, for instance, you like playing My Hero One's Justice. You're playing story mode, maybe you're trying out a new character and you're having fun because you enjoy the combat. But then it goes into cutscene. Why did the game suddenly become so boring? This is the moment that I want to capture. What did the game do wrong there? And at the same time, what have games in the past done right? What are we looking for in an anime game story mode? First up, a few examples of games that I think have done some right things with story. We're going to talk about Storm, Kakarot, Rise of a Ninja, and Attack on Titan 2. Not saying they are the best story games or even that they are good games at all, but they all did something with the way they retold these stories that we're passionate about that really captivated me. At the same time, we're gonna look at some examples that just made me want to skip story mode or simply skip all the cutscenes. Fairy Tail, Sword Art Online Alicization, and My Hero One's Justice 2. I won't name any others, there are many more, but they all got the same problems. We're also not gonna talk about games that tell an original story. We're gonna ignore Chapter 2 of Sword Art Online. We're also gonna ignore Dragon Ball FighterZ, Kill la Kill, Xenoverse, all of those. Telling an original story, I think, is a great way of bringing fans into your game story because you have a group of people who are already invested in this universe. And then you get to tell a new story within it. But at the same time, that story cannot be canonical most of the times, resulting in something super generic or giving us some very bad filler vibes. For example, I really like the original story in Kill la Kill if, when you finish it, you realize that nothing really impacted the canon story except for the character of Satsuki, because you realize how much she knew about the events that unfold during that first season before they even happened. And even if that's not canon, it gives you a new perspective and appreciation for the original story. FighterZ, on the other hand, is nothing but a ham-fisted reason for why Yamcha can fight Goku Blue and to create the new villain with Android 21. There is zero value in this story. Maybe I'll do a video in the future talking about original stories, but for this one, we're gonna focus on these 7 games. And looking at them, we're gonna try to discover how an anime game story can be good. The Storm series is everyone's go-to for what a good story mode should be like, but why is Storm so beloved? One of the tweets that I got as a reply puts it extremely well. It doesn't drag on some parts, but doesn't gloss over or trivialize others. Anime game stories are often abridged versions because the games are primarily made for the people who are already fans of the show. These games are not worried about telling the story for new players with the exception of maybe Storm 4. Because when Storm 4 came out, the anime was still ongoing. Storm 4 finished Naruto Shippuden before the anime did because it was trapped in filler hell. But this tweet is a great point because we have generally already watched these stories. Going through them again with all the exposition and all the minor stuff is a good way to lose interest. focused. But at the same time, Storm doesn't neglect the quiet bits, which are still big character moments. Sasuke learning about the village from the previous Hokage, Naruto talking to his reanimated dad. It doesn't just focus on the action, it doesn't just jump from fight to fight, it focuses on telling a good story, even if it is abridged. I think this is something that Kakarot didn't do so well. By the time we got to the Buu Saga, there's a World Martial Arts tournament, and we don't get to play a single tournament fight. This game took so long to get to the Buu Saga, and we don't get to play a single tournament fight. That's simply one of the moments that the game cannot skip. Fairy Tail and Sword Art Online also tell an abridged version of their story, but they also spend a lot of time in minor scenes that are just not that interesting. Small character moments where they are just bantering. They're just talking to each other, not even moving the story forward. Small dialogue moments that even the most avid fans have already forgotten about, because they're not crucial to the story, and that makes the experience drag for the sake of playtime. But you still hear a lot of fans defending a game saying, no, this game is 40 hours long, so it's worth it over this one that is 30 hours long. It's bad playtime though. It is boring, and it doesn't help when the cutscenes look like this. I'm so tired of this style of cutscene. The models are just standing there with very minor animation work, and I really don't get what's the point. It's almost like someone's forcing the developers to tell the story, and they're trying to do it with whatever budget they have. These stories often cover dozens of hours, and you obviously can turn all of it into CG cutscenes, so this is the best they can do. But I don't know who this is for. This isn't a good way for fans to relive their favorite moments, because the anime usually looks better than this. If you wanted to relive those moments, you could just watch the anime again and have a better experience. But it's also not a good way to gain new fans who happen to buy your game without knowing the show at all. I gotta give some points to My Hero here for at least trying something different with the animated comic panels, but it's still not a good solution. It doesn't enhance the story in any way. And what angers me the most is that a lot of the time, a lot of resources went into making all of these cutscenes, these hours and hours of cutscenes. And more often than not, the games would be better if they simply didn't have those. And I'm not saying they would be better if they have better cutscenes. No, just cut them out and the game is immediately better. I'm saying that if Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris took all the time they spent making this fanfic visual novel style of cutscene and put it towards improving on the game's RPG systems and endgame content, you know, the things that the game is already good at, the things that the true fans actually bought the game for, I think the game would only benefit from it. Even fans are laughing at how bad that original story is, and they wrote like 40 hours of it with cutscenes. Even the first chapter of Alicization, which is still my favorite Sword Art Online season, was a complete drag to play through. I'd rather watch the whole season again instead of playing through this. And even if you like the gameplay, it's simply not a good way of retelling the story, because every time a cutscene pops, you stop playing, the momentum stopped, and you get these character models and these minor animations interrupting the action and to give you some dialogue or a poorly animated fight. Now, of course, if you have the budget, having visual fidelity is a big draw for everyone. I mean, who wouldn't watch a full Naruto movie with these graphics? I know I would. That's how good this game looks. High quality cutscenes often reimagine our favorite moments from these shows, but now working with 3D models, which gives us a new perspective. Kakarot was also very good at this. A lot of my playthrough was propelled forward through cutscenes alone. I don't think Kakarot's RPG systems and combat mechanics were good enough to carry the game solo, but every time I came out of one of these cutscenes, it felt like the game had gained a new life. Like this boss fight that I'm playing right now was a lot more important than every other boss fight, even though it technically isn't. You're just playing against an AI that has a certain set of moves. The fight isn't more cinematic or anything, but that cutscene, it contextualizes the action, it gives it another importance. And with Kakarot specifically, that's extra impressive, given how many times we've played through the Dragon Ball story already. That's just how good CyberConnect 2 is with anime cutscenes. High quality cutscenes are expensive though, and not every game has that kind of money. But you don't always have to spend mountains of cash on cutscenes if you can make it up with creativity, coming up with interesting gameplay. Rise of a Ninja is a great example. When Naruto had to learn how to control his chakra so he could walk on water, they didn't just do it in a cutscene. They gave you this new mechanic, which, let's face it, it's a minigame, no big deal, you just balance the meter in the middle with your triggers, and the game lets you fail, making you think that this is gonna be a hard thing to do. Wow, walking on water, I thought this would be easy. No, this is hard. Until Jiraiya undoes Orochimaru's seal, and suddenly, it's a lot easier. Not because the mechanic itself got easier, but you also had a practice round on extra hard difficulty. And this small minigame immediately really adds something to the experience. Another example in Rise of a Ninja, when Jiraiya throws Naruto into the pit and Naruto has to summon Gamabunta to save his life. The game gives you different inputs representing the seals that Naruto had to do while falling to his death. This is simple, and yet it's a gameplay experience specifically tailored to that moment in Naruto's journey. And the cutscenes weren't even CG, they just took them from the show, so other than licensing, they didn't have to spend much on making cutscenes. So many anime games give you low-budget cutscenes in between gameplay moments, where the gameplay moments are just fight after fight after fight, without thinking of what they could do for each individual moment to provide a unique experience. And this requires more creativity than a crazy amount of resources to pull off. For instance, there's this mission in Clash of Ninja Revolution that really stuck with me. Not saying Clash of Ninja Revolution has a great story mode, it doesn't, but this specific moment, I thought it was so simple yet so genius. There's a mission where you have to parry a projectile 10 times with Neji's 8 trigram palm rotation. And here's why this mission really worked for me. 1. The setup. It gives you something that the original anime didn't give. Neji wants to train for the Chunin exam. At this point, he's considered the #1 genin. He's confident that he's going to win, he just wants to make sure. So you get that cocky Neji nature that you used to have in the past, while at the same time giving you some insight into this character in a moment where the anime didn't explore him too much. 2. The mission is not just another fight. It uses the engine, it uses the game mechanics, but it makes you play in a different way. It's not just defeat the opponent and move on. 3. It's teaching you one of Neji's moves. Holding back plus strong attack does this parry, which is the case for most characters in the roster. Holding back and strong attack usually does a parry move, so it's teaching you a universal mechanic. 4. It's challenging enough to practice your reactions. And this is something you can make easier or more difficult by getting closer or further away from Tenten. You can actually tailor your difficulty on the fly. Clash of Ninja didn't do this very often, but this very small idea works on so many levels, and if this attempt at diversifying was present in more games, anime games would definitely be a lot more fun. Attack on Titan 2 is a master at doing this, and it doesn't even have to change its gameplay too much. In Attack on Titan 2, you'd be clearing a level comfortably, killing all the titans. When it feels like you're about to beat the level, in comes an abnormal, completely shifting the momentum. You find yourself racing to save your friends in places where you thought they were safe, and I feel like this is exactly what the show does. Titans seem weak, easy to beat at first, but in the blink of an eye, the tides turn and your friends die. And this is done through gameplay, not cutscenes. And this is why Storm is so beloved. Not only does it do the high budget cutscenes, it takes that budget and creates unique gameplay moments tailored to each anime moment, like fighting with your summons, or Kid Kakashi defeating a bunch of ninja. And these story moments are more than just a simple fight, and this is what anime games have been missing lately. If you're making a fighting game, or an arena fighter for instance, and all your story missions could be recreated in versus mode, then you don't have a good story mode. And this happens so often. Final topic, I think game stories can also be very interesting when they offer new perspectives. Not necessarily telling a new story like Xenoverse or whatever, but making you play as a character who's not the main character. Maybe make you play as the villain, or something like Budokai 3, where you play as one character at a time. I think the repetitiveness of Budokai 3 doesn't make it a great story mode, but I liked when I got to play as Yamcha, for instance, and realized, oh, he wasn't even on Namek, we're just gonna skip the whole Frieza thing. And it can be interesting to see the story from the perspective of another character, but I think in conclusion, a story mode has to be more than a series of fights, and this doesn't just apply to fighting games or arena fighters. If you have an RPG and all your quests are go here, kill this thing, go here, go get this thing, go here, kill 10 boars. Kill more boars! Bundled together with some in-engine cutscenes with minimal effort put into animation. Look, these cutscenes are a lot of work. I'm not calling anyone lazy. There are hours and hours of cutscenes in these games, but the thing is, it's not servicing anyone. No one likes reliving their favorite anime moments like this. Even if the gameplay is good and fun, the cutscenes are just not appreciated, and for a good reason. It really pains me when I see a lot of them, because that's time, effort, resources that could have been better spent somewhere else. When making an anime game, please think carefully about what makes each moment in your story special and create something different. Doesn't have to be complicated, just unique. Add some variety. Highlight that moment with gameplay instead of trying to turn everything into a fight, because so many moments in these shows that we love happen outside of fighting, outside of any action pieces. And if you don't capture those, then you didn't make a good story mode. Don't forget to pick up something from Kaioken Clothing. Use the link below to get something cool and support this channel. And I've gotten a lot of recommendations on Twitter, so I ask you guys the same question. What were your favorite anime game stories to play through? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye.